Welcome, good morning. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Jeanette Potts and I'm brand marketing lead at Isobar Switzerland. We are really excited to share with you that tomorrow, 1st of April, we will become Merkel and we'll be expanding our services to cover Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and the emerging markets. Today, I'm delighted to welcome two of our pharma experts, Tobias Hollritt, Head of Sales, Isobar, and Jens Reufsteck, Account Director at Namics. Welcome to you both. Before we start, just a couple of things. First of all, you can ask questions anytime in the chat. We'll do our very best to answer you. If we don't get to them today, we will answer and follow up individually with you. The session is being recorded, so you will receive a copy soon after. And last but not least, we would really value your feedback, so we'd love to get this via the survey. So Tobias and Jens, let's hear your insights, key challenges and actions to help pharma companies, and indeed all of us, overcome and challenge the ever-increasing pace of digitalization today. Over to you, Jens. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeanette, and good morning, everyone, also from my side. So as Jeanette said, our topic for today is the ever-gaining speed that we are seeing in the digitalization and especially also in the pharmaceutical industry, and also the trends we are seeing there. And first of all, maybe let's have a look at the drivers behind that. And if we are then looking at pharma, then what we find there is ever higher competition in the core business of the pharmaceutical industry. We find much shorter development cycles. I mean, just 10 years ago, who would have imagined that we would be able to develop a vaccine within just 1 year? And that also is related to the ever-growing importance of startups in the biotech and biopharma industry, with always better access, direct access to the market. Then second, we also find long-lasting trends behind that. We can find the so-called millennials today in just every target group, which means that also HCPs, as well as obviously we all as patients, are more and more used to inform ourselves on digital channels. And last but not least, the short-time impact of the COVID-19 pandemic has massively reduced access for salespeople directly to HCPs and has across all industries driven a rapid shift towards digital channels everywhere. So basically what that means is importance of marketing and sales in general, and especially in the pharmaceutical industry, is certainly growing, and that's probably a very good message to everyone joining that call today. And the big opportunity is digital. So, but yet, I mean, there is obviously also a couple of challenges in your industry, and to just name but a few. The one thing is, probably it's true to say that quite a couple of pharmaceutical companies have very long still focused on the traditional way of their sales force going out to HCPs and seen digital rather as an enhancement, providing tools for the sales staff going out. And now, I mean, we are really at a pivotal point where everything is really changing, and digital is becoming the center, and all the marketing and sales is gathering around that. And the second challenge is certainly, I mean, we all know that pharma is a heavily regulated industry. Processes that we are finding there, that is the big challenge to get them embedded into what we want to achieve, that is lean and really fast content production and distribution processes. So asking ourselves, what options do we see? We as a Merck have identified 3 key action fields, and that's what we want to discuss today in just more detail. And those are, the one is really developing a digital customer experience strategy. And the second trend would be then leveraging content management and data-driven digital asset management and MLR platforms. And last but not least, the third one, moving into an agile hybrid productization delivery model for digital asset creation. So I'm happy to have Tobias with me as an expert who has for many, many years worked on digital programs and projects across the pharmaceutical industries and for some of the biggest global players on the market. So happy to have you here, Tobias, and let's start into our discussion. And I would like to ask you as a first question, if we are talking about custom experience strategy, I mean, that's a widely used term. What basically do we mean by that?
Thanks, and hello, everyone. So, thanks, Jens, for the intro. So basically, when I see that, the answer is quite easy. Whatever we have to do in marketing, the key focus should be on the customer and the audience, how they perceive the brand and the product and the things we're going to create. So that sounds pretty obvious, of course, but for many marketeers, this is a fundamental shift of their perspective they're currently following or have followed in the last years. The traditional way of thinking has been highly inside out at these times, where this is now fully changing, as we see. And basically, we have to ask, as an agency or as a content provider, as a digital asset provider, we have to ask ourselves, what do we want to tell the customer that is really relevant for him? How do we respect him in his setting? Could be HCPs, could be doctors, other insurance providers, or the patients, or in pharma, or consumers in the retail industry. So that's the main question we have to ask ourselves when engaging on customer experience strategies.
So, I mean, if I'm looking from a typical consumer perspective, probably good examples would be the companies, the big companies like Amazon or Zalando, where we have the customer experience we are all taking from. But if I imagine I were a patient or even a physician, what I'm actually not, but imagining I were, what would that then mean in terms of customer experience for pharmaceutical brand?
I think basically there's not such a huge difference. It's more the patients, the physicians, or any other HCP target group, as I was mentioning before, they're all consumers in their private lives as well. So thus, in their professional life, their expectations towards the pharmaceutical brands and the content provided is driven by the experience they are making with the consumer brands. So basically, this merges together, as you were talking about Amazon and other brands. So what they more and more expect, what we see on the market, is really personal communication. Take me serious, right? I'm an individual. I want to be taken care of. I want to be taken serious. Now that we've already talked about it, right? Be honest, be open. So they want to feel when they engage with companies or with brands that they're really understood and felt pampered a bit, let's say. A second piece here is respect. Understand and respect the context, the specific context, and the situation I'm in as a consumer or as an individual. Respect my decisions is also key for me, because I've already made some, maybe, be it a disease progression, be it something in a brand setting in the retail industry. I'm talking about Amazon. So when we're creating these digital experience strategies, we have to rely on that the customer has already a history with a brand, maybe, or with his personal or professional setting. Here, we as an agency, going into the Merkle industry now and out to the market as an agency, the market needs to focus on exactly these two things: respect and personal communication.
Right. I mean, that's really interesting. And in a way, it also sounds obvious. In a way, it sounds simple. Probably it isn't. I mean, coming from another angle and looking from different perspectives, what are your practical recommendations then for pharmaceutical companies to meet these expectations and to make that really happen?
Yeah, that's basically the big question, right, that everybody's asking themselves. And basically, the digital world, it comes down to gathering and leveraging the data and maximize the insights towards the customers in order to gain success models, right, or gain more insight that you can then leverage. Provide the right content for each customer and each context, as we said, get them into their setting, take them by the hand and and follow through their patient or, for example, consumer journey, and also adapt your company, drive the shift of the mindset towards the customer experience, not thinking what you think is best for the market. It's more like putting the customer in the middle, having a 360-degree approach, and then go out knowing your customer, what they need, where they stand, in order to provide the most outcomes based on the data you have. Most pharmaceutical companies, they have a very solid basis when it comes to the customer data, the studies, the pre-market stuff. They're gathering since years, but it's very difficult to provide good, personalized, contextualized content due to the regulations that are typical for that market. So after years and rather steady progress in the digital area, many companies are struggling with gaining space and introducing agility and making sure that the data they have gathered on a more traditional fundament, right? How can they leverage that data into maybe data lakes, into digital asset management strategies that we'll talk about later? This is, I think, the key thing beside leveraging the data that they have already captured in the right way.
Right. I mean, you've mentioned content, and that's bringing me to probably the second part, what we wanted to discuss about content management, digital asset management. And maybe as a question there, what do you think are the major pain points that pharma companies are having when they are looking at their data and their digital assets, especially, as you said, related to those approval workflows?
Yeah, so staying at digital asset gathering and management, I think companies are a bit late jumping on this digital transformation journey, especially when adapting the data, as we said before, and putting them into approval workflows, maybe such as medical legal reviews or patient HCP related content approvals and its reusability. So basically the shift needs to happen, right? From making sure that all the data you have is adaptable and that you can reuse it in different settings, different markets. And is proved a difficulty and lengthy job for these companies. So basically they must heavily gather the data at the moment using master data management, data lake technologies, and on top make that data available on platforms where that can be then really spread to the market, be it internally, maybe country-wise or market-wise, or be it to different consumer groups. Here, we are recommending clearly the digital asset management platforms as a trend in order to move forward on that.
That's a good point here, digital asset management. I mean, we know that data and digitalization is always a huge topic for many industries. But if we are talking about the specifics of digital asset management in pharma, what's your opinion there?
I think the pharma companies engage on a per brand or therapeutic area at the moment, and they cooperate with multiple content and data delivery agencies and other platforms on the market, delivering that data or gathering that data on a global scale. So basically, approval workflows and data need to be centrally available to ensure that safety and regulatory approvers review the right content at the right time for the right brand and the right continent or country. And if a picture, for example, or a video or a patient leaflet is centrally approved and reviewed only on a per needs basis, companies can significantly then save time during the launch of brands in a separate market, and hence drive the speed to the market via fast and streamlined approval flows. So in addition, then, this digital asset management platforms and data lake technologies can ensure the content is stored once, approved once on a global or local scale setting, and uniquely identifiable and searchable within an organization. So that ensures then that agencies and internal employees are always aware of what is already available, what has been approved in the past in a given setting, and can build on that. So it's needless to say that brand managers and regulatory bodies of the future are benefiting from a speedy, audit-ready, content-driven asset management tool. And basically, we have taken also an approach here in the last couple of years with our large customers on the Merkel side, that we are working closely together with their partners in order to build that platforms for our clients, and partners such as Adobe, Primo, and others are offering these tools, especially and pre-approved, let's say, for the pharma industry, and we are helping them, the clients and the partners, to get more traction on that.
Right. Let's stay just for a moment with the tools, and the systems behind. Based on your pharma and life science focus, how do you see the future of those asset management tools within the industry, or as a sales leader at Merck? Where do you set the focus for the nearest month or the next year, let's say?
Yeah, that's very difficult, of course, because every pharmaceutical medtech company, they have their own setting, a bit specifics. But I think it is clear that we see, and we put in Merck the focus at the moment on companies and helping the companies to further build on their master data management from a manufacturing point of view towards the marketing and towards the marketing departments, and that these analytics and storage and usage of the content can be easily accessible while providing interfaces to the CRM, to the marketing automation tools, or any medical tools within the organization. And we are helping basically them to bring together these platforms into a single view, and then have it from the inside out better, have inside out better outcomes on the data, and can build really on that. You can really build on that data. When building, for example, a digital asset management platform, defining the respective workflows, we are focusing on the accessibility of the data and the external integration friendliness to ensure the customer can connect external agencies, content agencies, internal tools easily, and make best use of the digital asset management infrastructure and ecosystem.
Right. I mean, looking at that, that sounds really like quite a huge agenda. I mean, setting up a central digital asset management, building all the workflows for approval and all the other processes, integrating it with up and downstream systems across the global organization, and finally, still leveraging this full lineup of personalized marketing across all channels. That's quite a lot on the agenda. So that brings me to the next question. I mean, if we are asking for the right approach, what we typically probably hear is that we should change our way of working from classical waterfall to rather an agile mindset. Would you agree on that? What's your experience, or what would you recommend here?
Yeah, that's also an interesting one, because I would agree, and the platforms that we see, or the solutions out there, which is a bit software as a service, platform as a service. So big corporations go into rather buying than building it from scratch. That makes, of course, also one change that needs to happen, which is go into a more product-oriented technology mindset. Coming up in the past years in pharma, we clearly see that. We have seen that traditional ways of building digital assets, being websites, mobile apps, chatbots, is not sustainable anymore in a waterfall approach. These days, we need to be a bit flexible, product mindset, adjusting the market needs quickly and changing the priorities from a regulatory and compliance point of view as we go, as well as from a technical capability point of view, because the market and the business as well as technology are constantly changing. And I think the project approach needs to change as well there. So moving from project into product, from waterfall into hybrid or agile, provides system sponsors the ability to adjust to their customer and market needs, when not just taking a decision at the 1st of January to have some kind of a project delivered in the end of December, knowing that market trends, that technologies and focus can change over time. So with that product focus, you go in a release management mode, system management mode, and basically you put your outputs on a life cycle, and that helps a lot in getting speed and traction in the right direction.
Right. I mean, that's probably what many of us have heard quite a couple of times already, and I mean, it sounds quite logical to do so. But being a little bit more specific still, what does it exactly mean?
Yeah, basically, what we have implemented at Merck at all times is, whenever we engage, we are trying to build an MVP or an MLP scope, which is the minimal lovable or viable product, so-called, and put that on the scope first. Basically, after discovery and early engagement, maybe a persona definition, first workshops, we build something tangible as a small version 1, which can go as a speedboat to the market, and then building on top, based on the customer priorities, a clear product lifecycle, a roadmap that is then really jointly build with our customers and basically their customers in that setting that they needed. And we're making our clients part of that inner solutioning team. And I think this is what I see is key and what needs to change. It's not anymore Merkle as a software or integration provider. It's really a joint delivery with the client, setting priorities, deprioritizing, and jointly we can then strive for the best outcomes using the agile methodologies and the tool sets that are out there.
Obviously, I mean, there are many benefits of using an agile approach, but maybe there's also a flip side. I mean, I don't know. Are there any pitfalls on such a way of working? And if yes, where do you see that Merkle could bring the most value in helping customers avoiding those?
Yeah, and that's exactly, because that's mainly the key question every day when we reach out to customers, not only in pharma and life science, but mainly they have not much companies in retail and other luxury industries. They have not much advance on their way of hybrid or agile methodologies sometimes. So we're still in a mode where operating procedures, traditional IT project management in pharma, maybe the GAMP5, the FDA compliance and governance standards are ruling the build phases of a project. And this has to somehow be managed quite carefully within the team. Agile ways of working provide very high flexibility that, on the other hand, require significant discipline and overview. And I think we need to merge these standards, being audit ready, being compliant according to the relevant standards, however, being also quick with a speedboat, fast on the market, and agile, basically. So taking our clients at hands via this workshops, design sprints, design thinking procedures is key to success, is paramount, so they can learn as we go on how we see and build their assets, and how they can see really we are building jointly the assets together.
Thank you. Tobias and Jens, it's really interesting to listen to you both and get some really interesting information on pharma. I think there's lots of things also, would you say, that could be applied to other industries? If you had I mean, after all you've shared with us, I think everyone hopefully on this call also, you will have the opportunity to book time with Jens and Tobias indeed, but both of you, if you had one top recommendation for pharmaceutical companies, what would this be? And given the current climate environment and in the industry at the moment, what would your top recommendation be on how to approach these challenges?
Yeah, so basically, I think what we should do is to advise basically to the clients and to the full setting to think big, but rather start small, building something tangible that is lovable, as we said, that is minimal viable, and putting it out to the customer for a quick test or to the consumers, and then start building the roadmap of the digitalization and the journey. And then this can be something for the audience, right, where they can evolve together with the brand and the product at the end. So this I see really as the key, that you have the big picture in mind, building your roadmap, your strategy, but you really start small and not get lost, let's say, in some heavy projects that nobody can understand, that are very complex, and then after 1 year maybe you recognize that you're off the track, right?
Right, and if I had something to add there, I would say the basic thing is the customer experience here, which we should just keep in mind, that everyone as a consumer, that everyone is on the digital channels today as a consumer and has that experience and brings that experience back into his professional environment. And that's also true for HCPs. And I mean, that should direct our way of communicating with those target groups, which means, I mean, we all want to be treated honestly. We want authentic speech. And if we get that right, I think we really can make our target groups ambassadors of our brand. That's a big opportunity. That would be my recommendation here.
Yeah, thank you. No, I definitely think for brands generally nowadays anyway, people are looking for more authenticity. And I think now that's even more important than ever. So we have a couple of questions coming in. If we don't get to them all today, we will respond to you individually on your questions. But one of the questions is, if we would want to get more insights and gain more insights, for example, into our target groups, our customers, how would we actually do this? Would you have a recommendation on the best way to gain these insights? Probably
So
Jens, maybe, or Tobias?
Yeah, I could start. So basically, what I always would do is to have some kind of an expert hour, a quick proof check, right, with your audience and with the client, in order to see what can we do, where do you stand in a discovery workshop, and trying to identify what is the data available, what are the systems available, and what is missing maybe, and to provide some kind of a fit gap analysis. That's what we see sometimes clients asking in that setting. Jens, you want to complement there anything?
Yeah, right. I mean, if it comes to gaining insights from our customers, gaining insights from the HCPs, which might be part of the question here. I mean, the recommendation is obviously the first thing is probably you would listen to your salespeople who are saying, yes, we do have the experience, but our recommendation is really ask the target group. And there are many ways of doing that: qualitative interviews, quantitative surveys, other methods. But that would be certainly a very good starting point to get an understanding. And then, I mean, that's really important to head forward into data-driven approaches. Then you wouldn't go back to those target groups every single time, but then gain really insight into behavior on your digital channels, and learn from that, A/B testing and all these things that you can do there. That would be the recommendation. But the one thing is, where it comes down to, don't discuss it with yourself. Ask your target group, learn from your target group.
Yeah, no, thank you. No, I definitely agree on I love the test and learn approach, and keeping in contact with your customers and gaining the insights. And I mean, speaking of which, this is actually something we do offer to, so you all know on this session this morning, we do actually offer to you an expert hour. So Tobias and Jens are ready to hear from you. But also it's open to everyone. I mean, there's other experts within our company at Merkle, depending on your topics and business requirements, depending on what you need, we can really develop something working together with you to basically, you know, from discovery to delivery to really a customized approach. So we've covered a lot this morning. I know there's some questions, but we will do our very best to answer those individually. This is actually the QR code for the expert hour. You can scan it straight away, or it will be in the presentation recording that we will send you. So with that, that's it for today. I'd really like to say thank you to our audience and to our speakers and experts, Tobias and Jens. And with that, until the next time, we are Merkle. Keep watching. We have some exciting news to come in the next few days. Thank you so much, and we look forward to the next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.